Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of the Film Studies Club podcast. I am your host, Robert Burke.
I'm my co-host?
Yeah, your co-host.
I'm co-host Pahul Chabra.
And this is the new podcast that we are trying out right now. And he's taking his shoes off. This is a new podcast we're trying out right now. It was an idea that we had before this whole Corona thing happened. But now that it has happened, I think it's a great opportunity to try to reach out to the people who, usually go to Film Studies Club to keep them informed on the world of movies. And also, it's just it's a fun podcast. Additionally,
But is linking it to the Film Studies Club like limiting our viewer base, listener base?
Well, no, I think more people than just Film Studies Club are going to watch it. But I mean, it's called that in the title, and that's kind of the original idea of the podcast.
But we can't limit it to
no,
throwing references and inside jokes about Film Studies Club, like Dobson is awesome or something like that. We can't do that.
Well, there's no inside jokes to make about Film Studies Club.
I don't know. There's a lot of them.
No, there's not.
I don't know.
There's no inside club. I mean that club has a culture for sure. I just don't think that there's any inside jokes within that club.
I think calling it a culture is too far.
What do you mean?
It's not really a culture.
Well, what else would you call it?
The community.
And in communities, they form this connection with each other, and they form this special thing with each other,
like
and it's called culture.
Like a set of beliefs, not really a culture. Like a set of shared experiences, not really a culture.
Well, then it's not a community either.
It's a community. There's a bunch of people there.
Okay. You know what? Anyways, let's get into the structure of the podcast. So here is what the regular structure will be, which we probably won't actually be executing for at least 2 months because of this whole coronavirus thing. But here's how it lays out. We start out by reviewing all the movies from the previous weekend. So today is Wednesday, March 18th. We review all the movies from Friday, March 13th. Which is, the previous weekend. So we'll try to see as many of those movies as we can, and we will review them. Then we will go on to review a movie that is kind of a combination of the movies that we have just talked about, which today you'll see what that is. It's a bit hard to explain. Afterwards, we will go into reviewing a mobile game, which this is Pahul's big segment because he loves mobile games. After that, we will go into the new releases coming out and the box office, and we will talk about new movies releasing on video on demand. So that will be the general layout of the podcast. Every week we'll have new movies, but for the meantime, while this whole Corona thing is going on, we will be discussing just general themes. However, we got 1 weekend of movies in before all the movie theaters closed.
That's true, but I didn't watch any of them.
Yeah, because you couldn't.
Yeah.
His mom kept him from going to the movie theater because of the coronavirus concerns, which makes sense, but I was just not going to stop going. In fact, just today, Cinemark 14 and XD closed its doors.
What?
Yeah. And so did Cinemark 8. And
who cares about Cinemark 8?
Right. Valley 11 is still open. However,
who cares about Valley 11?
All Cinemark movie theaters, all Regal movie theaters, and all AMC movie theaters across the country have closed.
Yeah, my dad's very sad about it.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, because he likes movies. A lot of people like movies, bro.
Yeah, that's true. It's pretty phenomenal because movie theaters don't close for anything. I mean, movie theaters didn't close for 9/11. They didn't.
Well, but to be fair, you can't really spread 9/11 from person to person by coughing. You can spread the coronavirus.
Well, I mean, I think even H1N1 movie theaters didn't close down.
I don't know. H1N1 was a different deal,
It wasn't H1N1 didn't it affect teenagers more?
Okay, I'm not sure about any of that because I was like a kid during that. I was like 4 years old.
It's crazy though that I mean we'll probably see another pandemic like this in our lifetimes.
Yeah, hopefully not as widespread though, because this is really dull. I'm just sitting at home doing nothing.
Yeah, I mean, school was canceled for us, which has its positives and has its negatives.
Yes.
But every single kid that I know on their Instagram and Snapchat is posting about how bored they are. And what's that going to be like?
Never mind. I'm not saying specific names on this.
You can you can use code names.
I don't think Enrique is very sad about it. I saw him biking with his buddies earlier.
Well, yeah, that's true. But a person named Payla Kreis, she posted to her story saying how bored she was.
That's clever, yeah.
And I think Dilla Wavis also posted about how bored she was. An additional note about the podcast that I forgot to mention is that this podcast will be, for the most part, family clean. We will only use words "damn" and "hell."
Thank
No,
God.
no,
Thank
no.
God.
It's okay to use
Okay,
that.
okay.
But we will not be using any bad words. We want this for college apps, so no bad words here.
Don't say that.
What do you mean?
Don't say you want this for college.
Well, no, that's
apps.
not the reason that we're doing it. Nick can edit it out if he feels the need
Yeah,
to.
yeah. But please edit this one on, Nick. Now we're good to
Okay. Anyways, so we want to start talking about some movies.
go. Sure, yeah. Jump right in, bro.
All right. So the first movie that I saw this weekend.
That's what I'm here. Go on.
Bahul and I had a discussion before about how the places that these podcasts are recorded are usually very warm. So he took his jacket off. Very nice shirt.
It's just black.
For those listening, it's a long sleeve black shirt that's quite tight fitting. I think it looks quite nice, Bahul.
Thank you.
You look like that Chinese
Steve
guy
Jobs.
from B-Mun.
Never mind. I know.
No, Steve Jobs, didn't he wear... Wait, he wore black shirt and
Yeah,
jeans
exactly.
every day.
This is the look I'm going for.
I know, but didn't he wear like a black t-shirt instead of a black long sleeve shirt?
Let me
Wasn't
think about that.
Wasn't the reason for that was that he didn't want to waste mental energy on what he was going to wear?
I think that was Einstein. You're confusing Steve Jobs with Einstein.
No, I swear to God that Steve...
No,
See,
no.
this is when we need Nick to fact check this.
I'll just do it.
You'll fact check. Okay, he's fact checking that. In the meantime, I will review Bloodshot. So this is a movie, a comic book adaptation. It's based on Variant Comics, I believe. Valiant or Variant is the name of the studio. And it's not Marvel. It's not DC. It's something completely different. They were kind of trying to start their own cinematic universe with it. It stars Vin Diesel and Eiza Gonzalez, who was in Baby Driver. She was the one who was married to, I think his name is John Hamm. Anyways, the movie is directed by Dave Wilson, and this is actually his first time directing a movie. I was not super looking forward to Bloodshot. Yes.
I'm not really paying attention to what you're saying, and I think it's like detrimental to the podcast. So how about we just say that yes, Steve Jobs did wear one outfit because he wanted to save his mental power.
Okay, so I won that argument, is what you're saying.
Fine, yes, you did.
Okay. Anyways, this movie I wasn't super excited for it because the trailers revealed a lot of the story.
Is this Bloodshot?
Yes, this is Bloodshot.
Okay.
I feel like when you have a movie and the trailer gives away a lot of the plot details, that is a big red flag on the quality of the movie.
Yeah, like I think of what was that one with Barbara, the one where they go to like the place that Margot.
Barb and Star go to visit.
Exactly. See, that
Dylan
trailer
Star-
didn't reveal anything, not even their faces. And I think that was a very well done trailer because of that. Me and Robert would not be sitting here talking about it if they just revealed their faces, you know?
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
Do you think that movie's gonna get delayed?
I think a lot of movies are going to get delayed, you know?
Well, that
because
one's
Corona.
That one's kind of safe because it's in July. But I mean, what if a big movie is opening on that same weekend? You know, could that take away from the box office?
I don't
for
think
it?
they're expecting a lot of money, you know? Like, you can't make a movie like that and expect to have
Okay,
$1 billion.
Here's the thing: it's a boomer movie, right? Like it's a movie made for 60
So
and
we're
older.
using the B word there.
It's not a bad word. Okay, here's the deal: Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, right?
Yeah, I watched
that
that.
opened at the end of July and made, like, I think it was 36. We need a fact checker. Usually we're gonna have fact checker Nick here, but he's asleep currently. I believe that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood made $36 million opening weekend. But I mean, that just goes to show that you can have boomer movies open
How
in
is that a
that
boomer
sweet
movie?
spot of July. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood,
Yeah.
because it's totally
30.1.
30.1 million. Still pretty significant. It's a boomer movie because it's like open. It's totally meant for like older people who were alive during the 60s during Hollywood.
Or younger people who are curious about the culture, like me.
Well, yeah, I mean, but we're special cases. I don't think many people at our school saw Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
I know Enrique did.
Oh, did he?
I don't know.
Anyways, continuing with Bloodshot. This movie, the plot follows Vin Diesel, and his character name is Ray Garrison.
Wow.
He's this ex-military dude, and there's this weird guy who, in the movie, he dances to Psycho Killer, like by the Talking Heads.
Oh.
Yeah, so he's dancing to Psycho Killer, and then he kills his wife. And then suddenly he wakes up, and his body, which has been killed, was donated to this organization, or that's what they say. It was donated to this organization that's developing biomedical technology.
Wait. So Vin Diesel dies?
Yes,
So his
that's
body
what he
gets
believes. Yeah.
what he believes. So he doesn't really die.
It's very tricky. Okay, so here's the deal. The trailer reveals a lot about the movie, so I'm going to reveal the plot details that are in the trailer, but I will not reveal any plot details that were not in the trailer. So
Smart.
the thing is, in the trailer, they kind of leave it up to interpretation whether he was dead or alive.
It's a superhero movie.
Anyway, I haven't even gotten to finishing the plot yet, but they work on his body, and essentially he can get shot or punched, and when he gets shot or punched, he instantly heals. There's these little robots in his body that run around and heal the wound instantly.
So like Wolverine
He's basically like, Wolverine or like Deadpool.
or Mr. Incredible.
I don't think Mr. Incredible was invincible.
But he was really strong.
He was really freaking strong, but I don't think he was invincible.
Yeah.
Anyways, so using this, he decides to go search for the people who killed his wife. And that is the plot that is revealed to you in the trailer. That reveals about 50% of the movie.
Well, I mean, it's a superhero movie. You're not going to get a lot of complex plots in there, are you?
Right. But another detail that they kind of reveal in the trailer is that maybe the organization is that every time that he goes out to do this, he ends up getting, he ends up getting rebooted or something, and they bring him back and use him again. It's basically the corporation that has put this biotechnology in him is evil. That's what they put away. That's what they reveal in the trailer. And that is like middle of the movie. You know how like usually in the middle of the movie, there's some big turning point? In screenwriting, it's called the midpoint of the movie. That was the midpoint of the movie, was that discovering the organization was evil. So when a movie gives away something like that, it's pretty detrimental. So for about 50% of this movie, and really the part where it was supposed to hook me, I didn't care at all because I knew exactly the way that it was going to go, which was, I think, hugely detrimental to the movie.
So you think the plot was bad?
I think that the plot could have been done a lot better. And even the way it was fine. But knowing how the movie starts and knowing basically everything about like 50 minutes to an hour into this movie, it was detrimental to it. I was bored and I was really wanting it to be over. And that bored feeling where I just couldn't get invested in the movie, it lasted all the way until the ending. So even at the ending, when they're trying to do new things and have new twists, I just didn't care, because I was not invested from the beginning. And it doesn't help that they cast Vin Diesel in the lead, because one, he's not a great actor.
Okay, I was gonna ask that question.
Yeah. He's not a great actor, but also his character is really boring. He's just this military guy who, like, in the movie, he has sex with his wife, and then his wife is in a chair and she gets
the
socked.
S word too.
I mean, sex is not a bad word, is it?
Well, for B words it is. Boomers think sex is a very bad word.
You can use... Okay, we're going to make a list of words that you can use on this podcast. I'm writing it down right now.
Okay.
We can use damn. And this list is open to adaptation as time goes on. We have damn, hell, sex, and boomer.
Coronavirus had that to it.
Coronavirus is not a bad word.
A lot of people are scared of the coronavirus.
All right, fine. So, actually, did you know that YouTube is demonetizing videos that mention coronavirus in it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so if we put this on YouTube, it can't be monetized. So if this gets like millions of views,
gosh darn it,
maybe Nick can just put a bleep every time they mention coronavirus. Nick doesn't even know that he's going to edit this yet.
Oh, he doesn't?
No.
Actually, to be fair, I didn't know that either.
Yeah, I kind of just thought about it while I was doing it. Anyways, so yeah, I wasn't really a big fan of Bloodshot. I think knowing the plot going in, having an unlikable lead that doesn't have a whole lot of charisma or personality behind him, and generally the movie is really poorly lit. And admittedly, it's a stylistic choice because the whole movie is really, really dark. But I think that
stupid.
It only works for very few movies, and the intention is, it's like this cool, sleek tone if we make it dark, you know? But the problem with Bloodshot is that I couldn't see what was happening for a lot of the movie. And especially going into this movie feeling tired, I went in feeling tired, and then the whole movie was so dark that I felt like my eyes were closed while watching it. So I just really couldn't pay attention to it.
See, the thing is that... Okay, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So what if they replaced Vin Diesel with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson? Because I think he's a better actor than Vin Diesel.
So I do contend with that. I think that Dwayne The Rock Johnson would not have fit with this movie with the kind of tone and style that it was going for.
Jumanji tone.
Right. It's not like the thing with Vin Diesel is that he can do these like darker, more serious movies where Dwayne is more of a like fun, super charismatic guy.
Awesome.
I think Dwayne hasn't done too many like darker movies. The problem with this movie, I think as well, is that it just takes itself so seriously. So I think if you kept a tone like this, then Vin Diesel would fit better than Dwayne The Rock. But I think that if this movie was actually more focused on being fun and went more in a direction that would indicate having Dwayne The Rock Johnson in it, I think it would have been a far better movie.
So how's the box office returns looking for this movie?
Okay, so we are going to discuss that later in the podcast during our box office segment.
Whoa, okay, bro.
But currently,
just say if it's successful or not. Don't give me any figures.
It's very unsuccessful so far.
Okay, but do you think that's because of the coronavirus?
I think Corona or not, this movie would have not been very successful. I just don't think that it came out at the right time. I don't think that they did enough publicity for it. Because even me being a huge movie fan, I didn't realize it was coming out March 13th until like we were in Berkeley. Like that weekend, March 6th, the weekend of March 6th. That's when I figured out that it was.
Wow,
and for me, a guy who like researches this stuff and looks at schedules all the time is a bit of a problem. Don't hit your knee on the table. It'll make the audio go blue.
Fine.
Don't touch the table, man. It's like sacred space. No. You can't go that far back because then they can't hear you.
Okay, bro. Make a decision.
Anyways, so I think that is good for Bloodshot. Did you have any interesting facts to share with it?
Sure, yeah. Some interesting facts.
Right before he does, I will say that my score for Bloodshot is going to be a 3 out of 10. Any interesting facts on the
Bloodshot is one of the most popular characters in Valiant universe.
In the Valiant universe, yeah, I think that's like probably Superman. Why they chose to start it with him. Is there anything about like production that's interesting?
Production. I feel like a parrot right now.
Why? Because I'm asking you to just spew stuff out of your mouth.
Yeah. David, I don't know his name, so I'm not gonna try to. It's a weird last.
You know what? That's fine. Just look up The Hunt.
This is Dave Wilson's feature film debut.
Yeah, I mentioned that at the beginning. Just go to The Hunt. That this has way more. So that is a good transition into our next movie. In case you're confused,
is that a good transition?
I think so.
How so?
How can we do it better?
Okay, let's go back.
Okay. It's fine. We're just gonna push forward. This
movie's really violent.
Yeah, like The Hunt, a very violent movie.
Awesome.
In fact, The Hunt was very controversial at the time it was originally supposed to come out. This movie was supposed to release on September 27th, 2019. But when it came out, it was facing a lot of controversy about violence in media causing violence in real life. In fact, you remember Joker, right?
I do remember Joker.
Right.
I think so, yes.
The political climate around Joker made it a very questionable movie. In fact, they often had police guards at the movie theater because they were worried about it getting shot up. The Hunt was supposed to open a week before the Joker. So being a violent movie about liberals killing deplorables, it was just a tough movie to come out during that time. And they decided to push it back all the way until now, March 13th. And what's interesting about The Hunt is that it's not really worth all of the controversy, in my opinion. I mean, obviously the movie is very political, and it has some pretty bad violence in it, but the majority of the violence in the movie, like the bad violence, is in the first, 10 minutes. And then after that, it's not, absolutely horrible or anything.
Well, but, it's like Saving Private Ryan. Saving Private Ryan, the first 15 minutes or whatever, it's horrible. And after that, it's whatever. It's just another war movie.
Well, I don't think it's whatever. It's one of the best reviewed war movies of all time.
Fine, but it's the best. But violence-wise, there's not a lot left after that opening sequence.
That's true.
But I think the opening sequence is enough to cause some controversy.
Side note: have you seen Saving Private Ryan?
I saw it 2 days ago.
I have actually never seen it. Maybe that's one we should review for the podcast.
We should.
We should do war movies. Anyways, that's a discussion for another time. So The Hunt, as I mentioned earlier, follows the story of these elite liberals that go and shoot and kill deplorables or like Trump lovers or hicks for fun. And it mostly follows this one woman who is one of the deplorables, but she's very smart. And she's able to outmaneuver these liberals pretty well. She's Hilary Swank, which is very well-known actress. The computer recording this audio just had a black screen, but it's all still good. So The Hunt, I went in. I was actually looking forward to it a little bit because I think that a movie that would incite controversy will just be entertaining no matter what. And I enjoyed The Hunt. I actually like this movie, but I think it has a big problem with its message because it's a very politically emotional movie, I guess you could say. Like, it's very strong and passionate was the word I was looking for. But the whole political thing is that it's against left and right. And what's interesting is that usually in movies they display the rightists as these rich CEOs of like big companies, and the left are these like middle class people fighting for a chance. They switch it here. They present the liberals as these rich people who are able to literally buy people's lives, and they represent these deplorables as the poor hick type, which is interesting for a movie to do. My problem with that is that the movie ended up becoming far more about the rich and the poor than being about the left and the right.
So you think it should have been about the left and the right?
I think that the movie I think it should have been about the rich and the poor. Because the movie spends so much of its time focusing on left and right, and there's tons of political jokes throughout the movie. Like, there's these older liberal people, and they are talking about like NPR and stuff like that. I mean,
what's funny about that? I love NPR.
Well, I realize the jokes that they say in the movie might not be, great to say during this podcast.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'll tell you after the recording.
You better, bro.
I will.
You can text it to me right now.
I would prefer not to because I'm trying to pay attention to the podcast.
Zoning in.
Anyways, so I think by focusing on the left and the right, the movie actually lost a lot of its stride. And the other problem is that the movie, you know how politically a lot of people Paul's eating a donut, by the way, in case you couldn't hear. A lot of people who... I'm about to ask you a question, so I wouldn't take another bite.
Okay.
The people who are... how in politics, moderates are usually displayed as being like kind of spineless. Like, they're kind of like, oh, you're not really taking a stance on anything. You don't have any strong opinions. You're just kind of this moderate that's trying to make everybody happy, and that can kind of make you like spineless, There's that general consensus around it. That's what this movie feels like. It's making fun of everybody, and by doing that, it pleases nobody. So there's no real strong message coming through, and for a political satire like this, it needed a message. Anyways,
yeah.
I'm totally like losing it. Right
I'll take over.
Okay.
So I feel like I would have watched The Hunt if it were free, but I wouldn't watch it like specifically go to a movie theater and watch it. That's a lot of movies are like that for me. I don't see the point, and I know this is mean and stuff, and like the people deserve their money, and movies take a lot of like work to do, but I don't care. Anyway.
So,
are you out?
So movies like this you would rather watch for free.
Oh yeah.
That's actually a good segue into our next part. Right before I do, you might want to pull up some interesting facts about The Hunt. Did you read over them? Are there any interesting facts?
Nope.
No. I think you need to not eat donuts on the next episode. Anyways, yes.
Never mind.
I am going to give The Hunt. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. It's an entertaining movie.
4 out of 10 for me.
You haven't seen it.
Well, from what I heard.
It's kind of a spineless movie, but it's entertaining. If you want to check it out and you're a little bit sad because, movie theaters closed because of coronavirus, Universal Studios, who is responsible for The Hunt, is actually doing something really interesting. They are putting The Hunt on video on demand now.
But for for like a markup, right?
Right. They're putting it on for $20 for to rent it. Which, if you think about that, that seems like a lot of money. But
Yeah.
say you have, say it's you and your wife, and you're sitting at home and you're watching this
I
movie.
wish.
If you went, if you went to the theater, you both would have spent at least $10 on the 2 tickets, as well as the money you would have spent on popcorn and a drink. That's at like minimum like a $32
Plus
outing.
gas.
Plus gas. If you're renting it at home, it's $20 and you get to eat the food that you have at home.
And no gas.
Right. So it may seem like a lot of money because if you think about video on demand and you think about some of the recent VOD releases, they're usually like $6 at the most.
Mhm.
But this $20 thing, it makes sense. Other movies coming to VOD include Emma and The Invisible Man.
Okay, but what confuses me is that what's stopping someone from just putting that online, you know?
Right, that's the problem with VOD and why you don't really see huge movie studios doing that with The Hunt, is that it's too dangerous to upload something to VOD because it's very easy to just put it online illegally.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like the majority of people would watch a movie illegally, though. Most people would not. I think that there's probably 20 to 25% of people out there that would illegally watch a movie, but I think a lot of people are still very scared about viruses and what those kind of websites entail.
Like boomers.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so glad we can use that word. We're going to use it so
it's
much.
very freedom of speech.
I think so, yeah. Well, not too much freedom of speech. There's certain words that we can't use on this
of course.
podcast. Anyways, so I think it's interesting, but the most interesting thing with the VOD thing is that they're releasing Trolls World Tour on VOD. Now, the interesting thing about Trolls World Tour is that this movie was supposed to come out in theaters on April 10th. They're still giving it a release in theaters on April 10th to as many movie theaters are open, and who knows how many it'll be at that point, how long this corona thing will go on for.
A long time, yeah.
Yeah. So really, it's going to be a VOD movie, and they're offering it for the same price of $20. I think that's really interesting because you're going to get the majority of your money from VOD releases for that movie. I think it's really the first time where we've had a big major studio take a movie that was supposed to come out in theaters and put it on VOD for like $20 for a higher price. And I'm really interested how this is going to turn out.
So this is a very seems like a very historic time for cinema. Because you have what you mentioned before that this is the first time since I don't know the 40s or 50s or whatever where there's no movies being released for like a month or something.
Oh yeah, it's definitely the first time in at least 3 or 4 decades
That's
since
crazy.
we
That's
haven't
insane.
had, and the more and more movies are getting pushed back. Just yesterday or 2 days ago, I think it was, they announced that Black Widow got pushed back from its May 1st release. They announced the pushback of The Lovebirds. Even these smaller movies that aren't getting the publicity that the bigger movies do for a movie, like A Quiet Place or Mulan, they're moving, and it's really leaving April as like this dry season. The next movie that's supposed to come out in theaters is Saint Maud, which is a A24 movie.
Ooh.
But even then, by April 10th, is this all going to be cleared up? Are movie theaters going to open again?
Oh, I doubt it.
Because
I generally
AMC
doubt it.
said 6 to 12 weeks is like the range that they'll reconsider opening theaters again. 6 weeks from now, I mean, St. Maud would be a financial disaster if they did that. So I really wouldn't be surprised if we don't see movies or movie theaters reopening until late May, early June. It could be a while, which is, it's such an interesting situation. We've really never seen something like this before with the movies. And I think that VOD, I wonder how many more movies are going to go for the VOD option.
I don't think the small ones will. It just seems kind of stupid, you know?
You don't think the small ones will go for the VOD
Yeah,
option?
I don't think so.
Why is that?
But I don't know, with a small movie, like a small, I don't know, like an artistic movie.
Like Saint Maud, like an A24 movie.
Yeah, I don't see people who are sitting at home with nothing to do. I don't think they're going to want to watch a movie like that. You know, a movie that makes them think and stuff.
Great. Scoot forward a little bit. You're coming off a little quiet, I think.
I think that they're...
Not that loud. You can just talk normally.
I think that they're going to want to watch movies like Mulan or something, you know? Because it's like big stuff, you know? It's big stuff.
Right. So the debate around that is that big movies like that need to release in theaters to make money. If you think about it, like, even if you have Mulan, that's a family movie. Families of imagine a family of 6. Say they all have to spend $15 on a ticket. That's $90 against $20 at home.
Huh.
That's a
Yeah.
huge, significant, and especially if enough movies do it, and people are like, oh, and they invite 10 to 15 people to come over to their house to watch, a movie. That's 15 times 10. That's $150. And they just spend it on this $20 thing. That's why I think only the smaller movies can really do it, which is interesting. Trolls World Tour, because I think that's kind of like a middle movie. It's not a smaller movie, and it's definitely not a bigger one. And that one, interestingly enough, also appeals to families.
Well, but shoot, I forgot what I was gonna say. Man. This sucks.
Yeah, I know.
This sucks.
I know. Anyways, I think that
I got it.
Okay.
So I'm hearing a lot of negative about this VOD thing. So do you think it's already a failed experiment?
I think that it's an experiment that has gone not great in the past. I mean, movies that go straight to VOD are either really bad or so low in budget that it doesn't matter that they're going there. I think financially, just thinking about it, it doesn't make a lot of sense. I don't think that it really works out. However, say Trolls World Tour makes 300, 400 million based off of VOD releases.
That seems pretty...
That's about how much it probably would have made in theaters, maybe more.
Optimistic. It's optimistic.
It's optimistic, but I mean, Trolls World, I think the first Trolls had a budget around 50, 60 million.
I have a fun fact about that movie.
Yes.
We graduated to that movie.
We did.
The song
to the song in that movie.
Yeah.
We graduated 8th grade.
Yeah.
So it's interesting now that it's coming out all these years later.
Damn.
Yeah, I know.
I can use that word.
Yes, you can use that word. Anyways, we're about at a half point in the podcast right now.
Intermission.
No, we don't have intermissions.
Oh, okay.
If you need to pause and you want to come back, we will let there be 5 seconds of silence right now for that. So go take your pee break, pause, and come right back after these 5 seconds of silence.
They could have paused any time. You realize that.
Yeah,
right?
but I think leaving seconds, it's like a nice little gesture,
Fine. Did we start at 39?
All right, that's fine. That's a long enough pause. Okay, so the next movie that came out on March 13th theatrically is I Still Believe. You might want to look this one up on IMDb.
That sounds stupid, but okay.
This is a movie directed by the brothers, I think they're brothers or cousins, I don't know, who made the film I Can Only Imagine. Do you remember that one?
I remember you talking to me about that.
I was
playing Civilization 6.
Oh, yes. Anyways, I Can Imagine. Are we going to review that one? By the way, side note, are we going to review
it's
Civilization
$60,
6?
bro, so like...
You paid $60 for a phone app?
It was free for like a while during Christmas.
Wait, so right now it's like $60 to get the app? I'm looking this up.
The full-on, yeah.
The full-on app? I have to look this up. Anyways, I Still Believe was a movie directed by the brothers who made the movie I Can Only Imagine. And I Can Only Imagine was a bit of a... Oh, no, it's free, Fahul.
No. Go to in-app purchases. The full game, wait. The full game
is $20.
Oh, I thought it was 60.
Anyways,
still very expensive.
We can figure that out. Yeah, that's a bit too expensive for this podcast. Mm-hmm. So I Still Believe... I've already said 3 times who the directors are.
Now you have.
And I Can Only Imagine was a bit of a... It stood out to me because a lot of these religiously based movies I just don't see because I myself am not religious, so it's just not interesting to me to go out and see these religiously based movies. However, I actually did like I Can Only Imagine. And I think it's definitely cheesy and it's totally like a preaching to the choir religious movie, as almost every single one is. But what I liked about I Can Only Imagine is that it didn't start and stop with telling a story about God saving these people. It actually went over what it was, like the life of this musician that it followed. And it followed him from when he was a very little kid all the way up until he was older. And towards the third act of the movie, where it deals with his dad kind of becoming a different person because of God, that's when I started to disconnect from it a little bit, again, because I'm not a religious person. But I think for a majority of the movie, there were things to like about it, be they cheesy, because... Wow, I just said be they cheesy. Because it was lighthearted, it was enjoyable, and I think I Can Only Imagine is a rare exception of a religiously based movie that I really enjoyed. So that's why I went and saw I Still Believe, because these brothers have made a religiously based movie that I liked before.
But don't you watch all movies?
I usually stay away from religiously based movies just because I can't personally relate to them. Like last year, I didn't see Breakthrough, I didn't see Overcomer. I
That's a
don't.
lot of religious movies.
There's quite a few that come out. It's
quite
like
insane.
at least once every 4 months, usually more frequently. So I Still Believe wasn't quite getting the reviews that I Can Only Imagine did, and the story is very similar to I Can Only Imagine. It follows this singer, and it follows him instead of from when he was little. It follows him kind of when he's going into college, and he meets this girl, and he falls in
Hot.
love with her. Okay, Paul. He falls in love with her, and they form a special relationship, but it turns out that she has a cancer that is like eating away at her body.
Kind of like that one movie, Fault in Our Stars.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
like a religious
awesome.
Fault in Our Stars. And it's about, how she doesn't have much time left, and he is just praying and hoping that she stays healed. And I was not a big fan of I Still Believe. Now, I will admit fully, when you're at home and you're watching a movie that's just kind of boring, so occasionally you'll take out your phone and look at it, like if you think about something.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody does it. I was the only one in the theater for I Still Believe, and this movie was like boring me like crazy. So I had tons of thoughts rolling through my head. If I thought about something and I had to look it up on my phone, I just did. So to be fair,
No shame.
I
man.
was a bit distracted while watching I Still Believe, given that the fact that the movie couldn't wrap me in, and it led to me taking out my phone and thinking about other things while watching it. I think that's a bit of a problem with the movie in general. And because
But
of that...
do you think that you not being religious plays a role? Like, if there was a religious Robert Burke right now, would he have pulled out his phone?
See, I don't know because I'm not a religious Robert Burke, but what I can say is I Can Only Imagine did not bring out the urge in me to think about other things and look at my phone. And I mean, it's not great to compare one movie to another, but they're so similar. They're both about singers. They're by the same directors.
They start
for
with
heaven's
I.
sake.
They start with I.
They do start with I, and they sound very similar. I Can Only Imagine, I
kinda
Still
got
Believe.
confused. I kind of got confused in the middle of that.
I
yeah.
wonder if some of the listeners did too. You can't call them viewers because they're not watching anything.
Good catch.
Yeah. So because of that, I Still Believe it didn't have as much appeal to me as a non-believer. Still, I commend these brothers for making religiously based movies where religion isn't the whole entire movie. Because that can be a problem, especially with the movie we're about to talk about.
Yeah.
It can be a bit of a problem when the whole movie is focused on religion because you lose any religious viewers instantly. And then at the end, if you want to start preaching to the choir and your movie is about religion towards the end of it, that's completely fine. I mean, that's expected.
Understandable, yes.
But at least I Still Believe attempted to do that. Still, this movie was very formulaic. It had all the cheese that I Can Only Imagine did without any of the emotion. So in the end, I just wasn't a big fan of it. I will give I Still Believe a 4.5 out of 10.
Awesome.
That's my rating. Any other comments on that one, or can we cross it off the list?
I think you can go off and cross it off because there's no trivia for this movie on IMDb except for two facts, and both of them are very boring.
All right, well, this next one, I'm going to let you actually start the movie discussion on it. It is a movie that we watched. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we are going
Wait, I'm sorry. I'm
yes,
really sorry.
okay, one
A
interesting
concert
fact.
scene from the film was filmed at Hangout Fest in Alabama and features real concert goers.
Oh, that's
kinda
interesting.
Cool. That's kind of cool, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I found that
at
pretty
the
cool.
I'm thinking they're probably talking about the one at the end of the movie because at the very end he sings I Still Believe.
Oh, okay.
I keep on wanting to call it I Can Still Believe.
Oh god, that's such a stupid name.
But he sings it at the end of it, and it looked very much like real audience goers.
Probably was, yeah.
Yeah, that is interesting. So anyway, back on track. As I mentioned earlier, we are going to try to find a movie that is a combination of the movies from the previous week. So that means any wide release movies and any movies that are opening and limited that were pretty significant. One that opened last week that was pretty significant and limited was called Never, Rarely, Always, Sometimes. It was a movie about abortion. So
Very tricky topic.
I was logging my brain to try to figure out a movie that we could talk about. And I ended up finding a movie that brings in the religious elements of I Still Believe,
Awesome.
the political controversy of The Hunt,
What could go wrong?
and the abortion aspects of Never, Rarely, Always, Sometimes.
Yay.
And with a pinch of comic book, the poster kind of looks like a comic book. Did you see the poster?
I saw the poster and I don't see the comic book.
It's like
Maybe it's because after I saw the blood from the movie that it just seemed tainted to me.
well, I mean, it kind of looks like a like it's hand drawn, is what I'd say.
Speaking of which, Can we say the V word? Exactly.
It's a bit of a touchy word.
Yeah, that is a very touchy word.
Yeah. See, doesn't it look like it's kind of hand drawn?
It
Listeners,
looks like anime. It looks like anime.
listeners at home, look up the poster for Unplanned right now and tell me that it doesn't look hand
She
drawn.
looks like that girl from that one movie with the big eyes, Alita Battle Angel or whatever.
I don't see that at all. But I mean,
Striss Klinkard loves that movie.
Striss Klinkard. Anyways, so Pahul, you actually watched this one. You watched
I
Unplanned.
did watch this one. Yes,
so
I did.
why don't you tell us what you thought about Unplanned?
Well, Robert recommended this movie to me, and I was like, okay, you know what? Why not give it a watch? Of course, I did not pay for this movie. I would never pay for this movie. I believe this movie has the same people who made God's Not Dead.
It's by the same production studio, Pureflix.
And so I looked it up and I watched it, and it was a horrible movie. I watched it while I was eating Panda Express, I believe, and I could not finish my orange chicken because of this movie. And it's a very sad topic for me. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
Aren't there some other? What do you think generally of like the structure of the movie and how it tells its story about abortion?
Okay, yeah. That's actually a good. Thank you. So the movie starts off with this woman who has a. Wait, what? Oh my god, I'm forgetting
The woman.
The woman is walking into she works at Planned Parenthood, which is like the place where you get an abortion from.
Right, she's like one of the higher ups there.
She's like really high up there, and good for her. But as you'll soon find out after the opening sequence where she sees a baby getting sucked out of the womb, and the doctors, whatever, there's a lot of blood involved, and the doctor's like, beam me up, Scotty, when the baby gets sucked out. It's a horrible scene, and she goes and cries in the bathroom, and then she switches off and she becomes religious, which I find it very strange, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, she was religious before she experienced it.
How can you not know that that's how, like, it's an abortion? I mean, you should have, you know, it's just a stupid thing. Like, you should have known that if you're working in Planned Parenthood, you're gonna see a little bit of blood here and there.
Yeah, and the thing is, this movie is based on a true story. But I feel like it didn't quite go down the way that this movie portrays it.
Oh, quotes.
What I found interesting about the movie was that after that first really bloody scene where the doctor literally says, "Beam me up, Scotty," as he's taking the baby out, and they show the display of the baby getting sucked out, and its head is like the last thing to get sucked out. It's really something else. It goes from that where she's horrified and she doesn't want to talk to anybody, and then it goes into this voiceover where she's like, "Now you're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation," and it's such a change in tone. It goes from this like horrifying scene with like so much blood in it.
It seemed comedic
suddenly
to me,
over. Though. Yeah, it really did.
And like maybe that's what they were going for, though. It seemed comedic to me.
If this movie was trying to go for comedy,
no, only for that specific time, like for those 4 seconds.
I don't know. I don't think it. I think it would turn off viewers if they decided to make the murder of a baby and then it was funny all of a sudden. I think it
seemed pretty funny.
I think they genuinely thought that was a good idea. But anyways, I think Unplanned is like, it's one of the worst movies I've ever seen. This movie is just so incredibly factually inaccurate. And it's made by Pureflix. This is actually the first R-rated Pureflix movie, which I think is interesting. But wow, everything about it. And it's not just its messages. It's the technical filmmaking aspects that are just so terrible. Whether it comes to the acting in it, which is so cheesy and overblown, or the dialogue. I mean, we've already said the infamous "Beam me up, Scotty" line.
It's very infamous, yes.
But beyond that, there's a line when she's talking to the lawyer, and he said, "You know what words always get through in court? Prove it." Can you imagine being in court and your defense against someone's point is "prove it"?
Oh, there's another one where the boss lady for Planned Parenthood, she's like, "Do you know what POC stands for?" And then Abby Johnson, the main person, like the protagonist, he's like, "Products of conception." And then she's like, "No, pieces of children." Who says that to someone?
And also, there's the whole part in the movie where the McDonald's part.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so it's after one of the board meetings where, the whole point around Planned Parenthood is that the woman believes to, make her redeemable to the audience that is anti-abortion, that is pro-life. The audience, to make her seem relatable, they portray her as a person that is at Planned Parenthood because she genuinely believes that she is helping out the lives of young women, which interesting character choice.
Yeah.
So she stands up during the meeting and she says, "Wait, why are there so many abortions? Like, why are we all focusing on abortions? Shouldn't that be the last thing that we focus on?" And I mean, and then afterwards, the main lady pulls her aside and says, "I can't believe you embarrassed me like that." And then she's like, "Okay, but why all this stuff about abortions?" And then she goes on to explain that if McDonald's just sold the burgers, it wouldn't be a profitable organization. They make their money from the fries and the soda. Yes. And then she goes on to say that abortions are the fries and the soda of Planned Parenthood. Again, I don't care if you're pro-life or pro-choice. This movie is just so terribly written.
Yeah,
the dialogue is absolutely horrific. And the way... this is a very two-sided topic, and I think no matter what side you're on, you have to admit there are good views on both sides with people who genuinely are caring. Mm-hmm. Like I don't think it's not like some other political topics where like it very much seems one-sided, like racism or something like that.
Racism is pretty one-sided.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty like that's bad. I think the people who, I mean, I have my own opinion on it, but I think no matter what side of abortion you're on, you can admit that there are good people on the other side. This movie portrays everybody that is pro-choice as these evil, conniving people. I mean, towards the end, it's like the main antagonist woman is... She's like got a like sick grin on her face, and she's going up and she's like, "You won't get away with this," and she brings it.
In the beginning, it seemed very pro-choice, very like towards pro-choice though. Like okay, when the hurricane hits, right, the Texas hurricane, and they're like, "Oh, we all gotta do this," and then all the Rocky type music wells up, and they're all like getting it done and everything. Those are very like it seemed like a very. You know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah. The thing with this movie is that it completely changes its moral compass. It goes from being a movie that is through and through pro-choice to being a movie that is through and through pro-life, and the switch is just so weird. It's like there's so many juxtapositions in the movie where it completely changes and turns on its head, and it just doesn't work. I actually do have some interesting facts about Unplanned.
Ooh.
So Dr. Anthony Levatino, who played the doctor performing the abortion where Abby
a real doctor?
held the ultrasound probe, is a board-certified obstetrician gynecologist.
Wow.
He's performed some 1,200 abortions in his life before converting to the pro-life cause.
Oh, okay.
Which is interesting.
So that was a real doctor who said the words "beam me up, Scotty."
Yeah. This one I think is hilarious. The actors in the movie were warned by colleagues against filming the movie as they believed it would damage those actors' careers.
Okay, I've never seen those actors in any other movie.
Yeah, that's because they're new actors. They're trying to get a startup, and they thought that being in that movie would hurt their careers. And I think that's hilarious. Another interesting fact is that the movie was filmed in secret because the producers knew that it would face attacks because it was dealing with abortion and it was very much a pro-life movie. And this one I think is the most hilarious. The film was rejected by every single Canadian distributor that was approached, and thus it is not a movie in Canada. And beyond that, the two largest Canadian theater chains have opted not to screen the film due to the film's content. So this movie is just not available in Canada at all.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think that's hilarious. So overall, Unplanned, pretty terrible movie. What's your score out of 10?
Out of 10, I would give it a -2. I think the -2 because it's a very dangerous movie. I genuinely think it's a very dangerous movie. Like, I feel like they could be showing this movie in classes in like film colleges or whatever, showing you like the power of film to change public opinion, like to inform, use emotion to just
Emotionally
play with
manipulate
people.
the audience.
Yeah, just play with people like that.
And I think that's the biggest problem with this movie is that it genuinely is harmful. It's spreading misinformation.
Yeah.
And I think there's room in this world for movies that are pro-life and pro-choice that display the topics fairly. But I just think that this movie doesn't at all. I'm giving this a 1 out of 10. I've seen worse movies in my life, but this is just absolutely horrifying.
Awesome.
All right, so now that we're done with Unplanned, we are going on to your little segment of the podcast. This is where we... What was that sound about?
I don't want them to seem like we're being sponsored by them,
You think it'll seem like we're sponsored by this app that we're about to review?
Well, there's not a lot of ads about it, so they might be just reaching out to podcasts and stuff.
Yeah, we're not a popular podcast. I'm sure nobody's listening to this point. Right now we're just talking about
I heard that Pawn Jarker said that he drives a lot and that he's gonna listen to our podcast, so
yeah, but he's not driving a lot right now because of Corona.
No, he drives. Well, why wouldn't he be driving?
Because everything he likes is shut down.
Like what? What is he like?
Swimming.
What?
The pools are probably shut down.
Yeah, pools are closed. But what about food? He likes food, right? He wants to stay alive. He goes to Danburger or whatever. He grabs a sandwich or I don't know, whatever you.
That's true.
Burger,
Hopefully,
Pawn Jarker is listening. Hello, Pawn Jarker.
If you are, please message me and Paul and let us know that you got to this point in the podcast.
No message. Oh wait, because we're not live.
It's not live right now. Anyways, so we are going to review a mobile game. We are not sponsored by them. That is
not. Yeah, please make that clear.
Very, very clear.
We're not grabbing money.
This is kind of the intermission during the podcast.
Well, I thought the intermission was back then when I was supposed to be quiet.
Right. No. I'm talking. This is the intermission between all the movie talk.
Oh, there's more movie talk? Oh, the box office
We're
stuff.
We're going to talk about box office and video on demand. And
awesome.
You have a particular movie that you get to talk about that you really enjoy.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways,
starts with a J.
Let's not get too ahead of ourselves. The phone mobile game that we are reviewing now is Piano Tiles 2.
Piano Tiles 2, yes.
Yes.
I've never heard of Piano Tiles, to be honest. I think they just came up with Piano Tiles 2 as the first game.
I actually played Piano Tiles when I was a kid.
What?
Yeah, I did. I really, really liked it. So,
Respect
anyways,
to you, brother.
The reason that we're doing this segment is because Pahul plays so many mobile games.
Oh, okay, to be fair, they're really fun.
It's baffling how many he plays. So I think that taking his passion in mobile games and putting it in this podcast...
I wouldn't say it's a passion, bro. I think it's a lifestyle.
Taking his lifestyle and putting it in this podcast, I think it would be a great way to integrate both of our lifestyles. So generally, what are your thoughts on Piano Tiles 2?
Well, I think that the clicking's very fun because all the piano tiles rush down and then you get to click them, and I feel really intellectual when I'm playing the game. I'm like Mozart, just like. I think this is a very important game for our society as it is right now because there's a lot of people out there who are like, damn, I wish I could learn the piano, and then but they can't because I don't know. They don't have a piano. Pianos are very expensive.
Yes,
and
they are.
So they decide to get Piano Tiles 2 because it's a very friendly alternative. Like Mr. Striss Clinker. He wouldn't buy a piano because he has a baby daughter. So he just played Piano Tiles 2 or whatever, I think that's a very fun alternative.
So you like this game for the idea that it brings the fun
people together. It brings musicians and regular people together. It's like this huge, like this.
It kind of teaches you both sides of, playing these mobile games and making music. And you feel like you kind of get both of them when you're doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can understand that. I enjoy Piano Tiles. I mean, it's not...
I do.
It's not my favorite mobile game of all time, which we will be reviewing at a different day.
Wait, what is it?
You know what it is.
Oh.
It's the one that I can't stop talking... No, it's not that one.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, I'm going to get that one. Yeah,
you should get it. We should review it next week.
Yeah, okay.
Deal. Okay. Anyways, what I like about Piano Tiles is that it's very fast-paced. Like the game is moving really, really quick.
Exactly.
And I think that they found a perfect threshold where it's like not too fast to the point that it's just impossible, but fast enough to the point where you feel really skilled while you're doing it.
You feel really skilled while doing it. Like, it's great. It's insane how skilled I feel.
Like, well, before that started recording, Pahul was playing it, and I was looking at him, and it looks like his fingers are moving crazy fast. And I feel like it's just fast enough for people to feel like they're like impressive by playing it, you know?
Yeah. I very much agree with that.
Yeah.
Mick Nanha was very...
No, he's going to be on the podcast.
Mick Manha was very impressed with how fast I was, and I can't get rid of that feeling. You know, I felt like a rock star in that moment. Yeah.
Right. So, do you have any qualms with Piano Tiles 2?
Well, not really. I think it's a perfect game, and if God ever made a game, it would be Piano Tiles 2, yes.
So is this one of your like all-time favorite mobile games?
I wouldn't say all-time favorite, no, but I think it's up there. It's very much up there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I have 2 problems with Piano Tiles 2.
Okay,
I
let's
think
hear this.
one, I think a larger music selection would be appreciated.
Well, what do you mean? There's
I mean,
Alan Walker on there.
It's a lot of pop. I think there's a lot of pop in it.
There's classical
It's
in there.
pop and classical, like...
What else would you? What else can you get?
I don't know.
Like, give
you
me a
could do
piano song,
rock
like
music.
give me a rock one. Give me a rock.
What's it called? You Can't Always Get What You Want by the Rolling Stones.
Never heard of it. Moving on. That's a
what, you want me to
boomer
just give you a
song.
rock
That's a boomer
song?
song. That's a boomer
How about
song.
any songs by the Beatles?
Well, but you can't really, because it's the same. They don't do a lot of stuff with the piano. Like maybe.
Yeah, they do. I mean, well, you can still transfer their songs into being piano songs.
But that's pop. Beatles is pop. Bad.
Beatles is also rock. Beatles kind of that's a
pop
discussion
rock.
for another time. Anyways,
I think it's a discussion for any time because this is not a music podcast.
we should integrate music in it at one point. What are Nick's main passions? Because we could bring
Minecraft.
We should have a spot on Minecraft every single.
Anyways, that's it. That's all there is.
Anyways, my other qualm with Piano Tiles 2 is that I think it's a game that you can install and play a few times and you'll forget about it. Like I've mostly forgotten about it. I don't think that it really has the staying power that a lot of great mobile games has.
I'm gonna be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the game we're gonna be reviewing next week, I feel the exact same way about, because it's literally just clicking and stuff. You know?
Okay.
I'm gonna
we'll
save that
next week.
conversation for later. But
Exactly.
Yeah.
But anyways, I still really enjoy Piano Tiles 2. I think I'll give this mobile game an 8 out of 10.
Wow, that's good. Yeah,
I
I think
enjoyed
I'd
it.
say 8.5, 9 out of 10.
You called it
yeah.
a perfect game.
Nothing's perfect, bro. Even God isn't perfect.
Anyways, now that we are done with that, we are going to kind of stream through the rest of it because the goal is to have an hour-long podcast.
Oh,
And
we could do this in
I don't think we can. Anyways, another segment of the show is that we will be talking about
2 minutes 15 seconds. Okay, go on.
we will be talking about the box office.
Let me pull it up
Box
on my
Office
phone. Over
Mojo.
here. Box Office Mojo.
Right. That's the app that we will be using. They're the best app that I know that's around to teach you about the box office. You know, box office is going to be a little difficult to discuss based off of, COVID-19 shutting down a lot of the movie theaters.
This is a very interesting part of it.
Right. And in fact, pretty significantly, all of the major movies dropped at bare minimum 60% this weekend, which is like huge drops all around. The top 5 ended up being at number 5, The Hunt with 5.3 million. Number 4, The Invisible Man with 5.9 million. At number 3, I Still Believe with 9.1 million. Number 2, Bloodshot with 9.2 million. And number 1 was Onward with 10.6 million. I think that these box office numbers, they're actually pretty good for I Still Believe, I think, and The Hunt. Those were low-budget movies. I think they probably would have made this much regardless of Corona.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
I think Bloodshot took quite a big hit. This movie had a $45 million budget, so it's not like a huge disaster if it doesn't do well, but man, with $10 million, it's not making much more.
I don't understand why studios make movies like that. Like, that seems so bad. Why do they set out to make stuff like that?
Think about Deadpool. Deadpool was a very risky movie. It was an R-rated comic book movie, and they made it for a really low budget of $25 million, I think, 25 to 30. This is why we need Nick. We need the fact checker.
Yeah.
But I think Bloodshot they kind of had the same idea in mind. They wanted to create a fun movie with a low budget so that they could see how it went. And obviously it's not going well. The studio's going to lose money. I think the big article of the week, though, is Onward. this movie is looking to be a financial disaster. It opened
Oh, wow,
last
yeah.
weekend with $40 million, and that was the lowest opening for a Pixar movie in like quite a few years. The only ones that opened lower, I believe, were The Good Dinosaur and the first Toy Story, the very first Pixar movie.
Wow. Okay. That's pretty
It's a
significant.
pretty low opening, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, it was COVID-19.
Mhm.
It'll end up having good legs. It'll carry on. It won't drop too much weekend to weekend." It dropped 73%. It's pretty devastating to have a movie do that. A lot of people have been questioning why not just put it on Disney Plus. I think it's a terrible idea. You won't make any extra revenue from that because more people won't sign up just to watch Onward. I think that what they need to do is, since all the movie theaters are closing, they need to take this movie out and put it back in when they reopen. I think that's the best solution for Onward.
Okay, so speaking of just Onward, something about that. So, what was the Rotten Tomato score for that?
Oh, for Onward?
Yeah.
I think it's in the 80% range.
And so, do you think it could be like a contender for the Academy Awards, or do you think that
For Best Animated
for
Feature?
Best Animated Feature? Yeah.
I think any Pixar movie really has a really, really good shot at that. I think the problem is that, and I think that the reason it didn't make as much money as expected, was that Soul is another Pixar movie coming out in June, or what will probably be delayed because of all the movies delaying.
Yeah.
But I think interest for Soul is just way higher than interest for Onward.
It did kind of get masked. I didn't hear anything about Onward.
Yeah, and I think that they kind of dropped the ball in terms of marketing this movie. I think the COVID-19 concerns, it's really hard to compare it to anything else.
Yeah.
So I think Onward, I think that the movie is very high quality. I enjoyed it quite a bit, and I think that it has a chance to go on and maybe get a nomination. But, you know, the year that The Good Dinosaur and another Pixar movie came out, I'm pretty sure it was the other Pixar. Inside Out. Inside Out was the one that was nominated, and The Good Dinosaur was kind of forgotten. And from reviews, I personally didn't hold this opinion, but a lot of other people did, was that Onward was one of the lesser Pixar movies. It was on level with The Good Dinosaur. Which I think I wouldn't agree with that, but I think if the general consensus is that the movie is around that range, I don't see this getting an Oscar nomination.
I mean, a lot of people like have weird opinions about the Pixar movies, you know, because like they said that Cars 2 was a bad movie, but I personally loved Cars 2. I adored that movie.
Yeah.
You know?
It didn't get an Oscar nomination though.
Oh, okay.
That's the thing.
Screw the Academy.
In limited release, you had Never Rarely, Always Sometime, open. It opened in just 4 theaters and made $16,000, which is about a $4,000 per theater average, which ain't bad. But beyond that, the box office was pretty low this weekend. We can keep on reporting on box office because Box Office Mojo came out with an article saying that they are not going to give up. They are going to push forward and keep on releasing box office estimates as they get them. So if there's box office results next week and it's like Onward with like $4, then hey, at least we get to report on that, you know?
Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Also significant, I believe I read headlines that said this was the lowest box office for weekend since the 90s.
Okay, I saw that headline too. So
yeah. That's just so.
What happened in the 90s though? What's so bad about the 90s?
I think movies just weren't as, you know, the blockbuster status wasn't around back then.
Well, but
At least to as big of a degree as it is today.
I feel like the culture. Do you think that people are now like not a lot of people are going to the theaters, right? Like not seeing like ignore COVID-19.
Yeah.
Just in general, are people not going to theaters as much, or because of the streaming services and all that they have available at home? And
Right. That's a big topic to unpack, and we're already an hour in.
Fine.
So I am going. That is what I will say about that is that Avengers Endgame still went on to make $2.8 billion. Movies are still making a ton of money. And in fact, I think that interest in the theater is very strong today. And I think a lot of people are going out and seeing these movies. And I think that streaming, with this whole COVID-19 thing and movie theaters being shut down, I think with Trolls releasing, we might start seeing more VOD movies coming in the future. It's straight to VOD movies if Trolls World Tour is a success. So it all really hinges on that. Do you have anything else to say?
Nothing.
All
much
right,
to say.
then we are going to move on to VOD movies, video on demand. This is the part where we're going to talk about new releases, but there's no significant limited or significant major openings this weekend. It was supposed to be A Quiet Place 2, which would have been great, but that didn't happen.
I would have watched that one.
Oh, yeah. And we could have reviewed the first A Quiet Place with it. Would have been great.
That would have been awesome.
But there are 3 new movies that came to VOD. I'll let you talk about one of them, and I'll briefly go over the other 2. So just the 3 movies are Jumanji: The Next Level, Black Christmas, and Richard Jewell. So, Pahul, what are your thoughts on Jumanji: The Next Level?
Okay, I think Jumanji is a very important movie for this era because I think that like a lot of people don't like Jumanji. Like the critically, it's not, and I agree. Like there's not a lot of critically stuff about to be happy about, but I think it's a very fun movie, and I think that it was a genuinely very enjoyable movie. And to me, I don't like theaters because I can't go. I don't have a long attention span for movies. Like, you know how you were describing like going on your phone and everything?
Yeah.
I do that for every movie.
Oh,
so,
really?
yeah. So I really need to like pause in between, do something else, and then go back to it.
Is that why you usually watch half of a movie and then the next night you'll watch the other half?
Exactly, yeah. And Robert yells at me about that because, you know, and it makes sense. Some movies you're not supposed to do that because they're supposed to be taken in like as a package, but I just can't do it because the alternative is me just switching off and then not paying attention to anything. And that was what happened to me for the last Apu movie that we watched in the trilogy. Yeah.
Oh, really? Apu Sansar?
Yeah, like I wasn't really paying, but I was sleepy too. But like I want to watch the third one again.
Yeah. That movie made me cry. So overall, you really enjoyed Jumanji: The Next Level?
Overall, yes, I really enjoyed Jumanji too.
So being in the theater, that movie, you didn't have a problem with the attention span?
I did not. No.
Yeah, I think that's pretty significant. That's what I like about Jumanji. They're fun, fast-paced action movies. They're not, memorable, in my opinion.
But I think that's an important thing because, like, yeah, maybe it's not good being memorable, but if someone can, like, kind of switch their mind up but still pay attention to a movie, I think that's a very important part of the entertainment industry.
What I will say is that this movie is a great blend of entertainment for kids and entertainment for adults. I think it's got it's hit that sweet spot where it can entertain both demographics almost better than some like Marvel movies. Some Marvel movies are a little too dark for kids, and this one is just perfectly in the middle. Beyond that, the other 2 releases Pahul hasn't seen. One is Black Christmas. It's a Christmas movie opening in March, so I doubt you're going to watch it anyway. But don't watch this one. It was terrible. It was on my bottom 10 movies
last year. Why the black part? Is it African Americans?
No, it's kind of a reimagining of another movie called Black Christmas. It's a horror movie, so it's like a darker version of Christmas. The original from 1978, fantastic. I view it as better than Halloween. You know, the classic Halloween horror movie. Yeah. And what's really significant about that is that, to me, is that it felt like a lot of Halloween was taken from Black Christmas. Ignore the dog barking. They're very similar in the way that it's about a group of women trying to get away from this serial killer. But to me, Black Christmas is way creepier. And the thing is, it shows way less. So there's a lot of creepy... Okay. Sorry about that. The dog barking went a little bit crazy. But anyways, what I was saying was that the first Black Christmas, super effective. This one is very feminist with its message, which I don't think is a problem with the movie at all. But it's very passionately that way, and because of that, it loses like all of the horror elements. I wouldn't recommend watching this one. It's not even like a so bad it's good horror movie. It's just a bad horror movie. The other one is Richard Jewell. I think that this is actually a really good like rainy day stay at home movie. It's not great. It's pretty long, but I mean it fills up time and it's never necessarily boring. And I enjoyed it. It wasn't a big hit at the Oscars, but I liked this one. So with that, I think we have completed the first episode of the Film Studies Club podcast. So
awesome.
If you want to hear any more about me talking about movies, you can go on YouTube and search for The Clever Critics or www.theclevercritics.com. Additionally, if you want to hear Pahul reviewing movies, that sucks because he doesn't do it anywhere else.
That Weird Indian is my Twitter account.
Oh, you're really going to advertise your Twitter?
Sorry, That Weird Indian guy. Wait, I don't know, actually. Check both. And yes, and are we gonna have outro music at the end? Like,
I told Nick to look up some outro music, so either it's gonna cut off really abruptly or you're gonna hear some outro music going out of it.
right now.